This is Dave Furneaux and Gordy Rush hosting Ghost Central. This is Monday nights at 8 o'clock. We live stream on Facebook and YouTube to talk about all the great things going on in the city of Central, the greatest place on earth to live, work, play, and raise a family. Tonight we're going to talk about autism, and we've got some big-time celebrities here that most of you guys probably already know. This is Gordy Rush and Dave Furneaux. We're not the celebrities. We have Coach Sid Edwards, father extraordinaire to two special needs kids and two other kids too. And we have Steve Whitlow of the Gateway Transitions, both the work environment and the residential facility, and Deanna Whittle from Emerge in Baton Rouge that takes care of the young ones. We're streaming on Facebook and YouTube. If you want to chat, you can throw something on one of the chats. And if you have a question for one of these, I guess there are residential experts or resident experts on autism and that whole process. If you want to ask a question, I'll pass it on to them, or make a comment or say something embarrassing about Sid. That would be good too. Deanna, Steve, Sid, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Now, Sid, we're going to have to speak up because we're kind of far away from the mic because you and I are buddies. We have our first in-studio guest. This hasn't happened before. Sid was flying in from football camp, and it wasn't that he's technologically unable to get on Zoom. He was in a hurry.
You got that right. Look, I've done this before, and they could hear me, but no one could see me, and that might be a good thing, depending on who you're talking to, Dave.
Well, Deanna, tell us about Emerge, and just to give you an idea, this is starting from the youngest of the kids, and we'll work on through Stephen Whitlow, who takes these young men and women into the workforce.
Okay, well, great. I'm so glad to be here. Speak about Emerge. There's so much to say. We feel at Emerge, it's a very special place in our hearts, in that we provide hope for children and families who receive a diagnosis of autism. Research has shown, Dave, that early intervention is the key to success with children who have diagnosed with autism. At Emerge, we provide comprehensive therapeutic services, and which, when I say that means that we diagnose children with autism. We provide occupational therapy, speech therapy, behavioral health services, and we also provide a special type of therapy called ABA services, which is applied behavioral analysis, which is a special therapy for children with autism. We work with the children individually and in groups. And we do that because we want to grow their communication skills and also the social interaction of the children. Because our children with autism, socialization is so important to be integrated into upper level schools and into society. So we work with our little ones. Our center has children as young as age 2. We go from age 2 to 5. And we also have a school. Our school starts from kindergarten and goes to 3rd grade, and we'll be adding grade next year and the following till we get to 5th grade. It's the only charter school in Louisiana for children with autism. So we are very blessed with that because we provide the therapy services in the school, and we also have the educational component too. So I could speak for days, but that's an introduction. So I know Steve needs to introduce Gateway.
All right, we can jump that way. Steve, tell us about Gateway.
Happy to do it. So in 2005, my wife and I started a small nonprofit on the grounds of the former Starkey Academy for a transition program for young adults and teens with autism, and we called it Gateway Transition Center. In those years, we've grown from a small nonprofit. We have been taken over by a larger multi-state company called Meraki. And so I'm actually working for Meraki now as their transition director. But currently what we provide is services to high schoolers and above for training them for services that would allow them to become as independent as possible. And independence means different things to different people, depending on where your circumstances are, but it touches on areas such as your financial independence, your transportation, your housing, and of course, your employment. So we also have a small t-shirt shop called Gateway Inc. And if you've talked to me before, you've heard me mention that name because I probably pushed you to buy a t-shirt from us. But it's actually a working t-shirt shop where our young men and ladies go in not to learn how to become t-shirt makers, but to learn how to have a job. And so they're taught a variety of skills, such as how to take instruction and how to deal with coworkers and how to sign in on time and those sorts of basic things, so that when we find a job that's right for them, they're able to have those skills and move on to the more competitive employment. So that's what we're doing in the central area. We also do some work down in Baton Rouge as well. And we're working on projects in other states as well. So we're keeping pretty busy.
Well, I do need to say the T-shirt shop, we promote Steve throughout the Baton Rouge area and beyond. They do an excellent job. So anyone who's listening, do look into that. If you, whether it's a hospital or any kind of organization that you're promoting your group, call Steve, because his guys do an excellent job.
Well, and his guys include Sam, who has an original piece of art on one of his shirts, doesn't he? Doesn't he, Steve?
Oh yeah, Sam is my son, and he is 21, and he's on the spectrum, and he has created a number of them. His latest is a shark eating the year 2020 because he was ready for it.
My wife has one of those.
Is that right? Yeah. So we actually have a subscriptions, a monthly service where every month a client designs and sells the T-shirt. We sell the T-shirt for them, and so he was, by virtue of his father picking the person who's first, he got to be first. But we have other people in line to make those services, make those T-shirts as well.
Mm.
Well, Sid, you filled the gap as a man who's raised two. So, kind of throw us a little bit of your story.
Well, because of people like Deanna and Stephen, they have made our lives better. And you're right, in terms of experience with autism, I've got a combined 50 years of experience. Chase, my oldest autistic one, is 30, and Jack Ryan is 20. Chase is an employee of Stevens and M's over at Gateway, Marquee. He got furloughed during COVID, okay, and it upset him. But actually, Stephen, he showed me his T-shirt design last night. He was very proud of it. So programs like those, we had ABA therapy for Jack Ryan, what Ms. Deanna is referring to. But when Chase was diagnosed, he's at 30 years old. Man, I had never heard of autism. So going through the gamut as a father of two, let's just say well-educated. I once had hair like you, Dave, but I can tell you the way his mom, Ms. Beanie, and I view this deal, we were gifted those two boys. It hasn't been a bowl of cherries, that's for sure, at times. But God trusted them with us, and through programs like what these guys have, family, friends, and a lot of help, we've made our way. In particular, with God putting His hand on them. Every day's an adventure. I have learned, like if you take Jack Ryan, I speak a new language now. I call it Jackanese. I'm one of the few that can really understand him. A couple of course, his mother does, but I could go on and on. I mean, just like as wide as the spectrum is for autism, is as wide underneath our own roof between our two very different boys and all the beauty and quirks and everything that goes with it.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about with your Hall of Fame career in coaching football, basketball for years. How do you? That's not an 8 to 5 job. It's seasonal, and it's never. I mean, there's this even when the season's over, the phone's always ringing. How are you able to, when you're home? Obviously, your boys got to take 100% of your attention. How have you been able to juggle your great career with taking care of your children?
Well, thank you for those compliments. The big deal is my wife, Beanie, along with other family members. Truthfully, if I was talking to God and God was choosing parents for autistic children, I would tell him, don't pick a football coach. Okay, coaching would not be the route to go. It would be some independently wealthy multimillionaire. But my wife in particular, I have been blessed beyond measure to be able to do what I love because of her and other family members. I will tell you this, and this ain't no sad song or nothing. I don't golf, fish, hunt. They ask what my hobbies are. My hobbies are my job. So when I get to work and I'm able to fool with the young men or women I get to coach, that's my blessing away from home. So I'm either with now, and Stephen can attest to this, we've met a couple of times. Right now, I'm either with Jack Ryan or I'm at Central High School. I'm in one of two places pretty much. But it's the support of family and friends. I mean, there's been times at football games, my wife has missed so much. Jack's not right, and she'll ride him around for the 4 or 5 hours that the game's taking place till I can get behind the wheel and take over. So it's how I've been able to coach and be able to do what I love for all these years, and I'll be forever grateful to her and friends. Hell, Dave, we had an LSU game. He brought Jack Ryan too. He convinced me that this is going to be okay. It's why he's got a new house, because the other one, we had some fun in it, right?
You made it to halftime.
We made it to halftime. That's it. But that's the whole thing. There's no way you can be blessed with those children and then do the job I'm entrusted with doing without major help outside.
Mm-hmm. So, Dave, as you can see, is what we share with folks is that when a child receives a diagnosis of autism, it's not just the child, the family receives the diagnosis, and the family needs a lot of support. They need to be understood. Just like Sid said, that we have sets of twins now, and you can see the differences. One may be higher functioning, a different level of the spectrum than the other, and it's parents need support, and it's just family, friends, and folks like Steve when they're older, our team when they're younger.
Well, I think one of the important. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I would just say, and I say this a lot because people don't quite know how to interact with families who have someone on the spectrum, mostly because a lot of times they don't understand, right? They don't understand what it is they're supposed to do or how it is they're supposed to help. One of the things that I bring up all the time is that respite is probably the best gift you can give to a family, especially with a young child on the spectrum, because it is a, like you said, Gordy, it's a 24/7 job to be a high school coach, but it's a 24/7 job to be a parent of a kid with autism as well. And so it never goes away, and that can wear on families. And the divorce rates are higher, and I'm going to bring things down, but the divorce rates are higher. Depression is higher for families that have this issue in their lives. And so being there, just learning how to take the child for an hour or two, allowing the parents to go for a walk together, allowing them to go to church. I tell churches all the time, it makes me sad that there aren't many more outreaches from churches to provide respite to families like this, because you can't, as a friend or family member or church member, you cannot provide the therapies that Deanna can, but you sure can provide some respite, and that's probably the best thing that you can give. And so when we're dealing with folks that are struggling with this, we probably shouldn't just turn the other way because we don't know what to do. We probably should face them and ask them how we can help.
Well, you bring up a question that I've often asked with various special situations with families. Would this be a correct statement? Just recognize that I have a child on the spectrum. Don't be afraid to talk about it, and come into my world a little bit, and don't say, well, we shouldn't mention that because that child's special, so let's just not bring that up with the parent. Can any of you speak to that?
Well, I will say that as a parent, and Sid, you can comment on this as well. You get you talk about the spectrum. You get the whole spectrum of responses from other people, right? Some people are just overly generous and want to help, and others are from a little scared and standoffish. And so, but you're absolutely correct, Dave. I mean, every child, every young person on the spectrum is different, and their needs are different, and you won't know them until you talk to them. And Sid said he spoke Japanese, which made me laugh, because there are a lot of times it's the parents that really know how to communicate for these kids and with these kids, and the more people that know how to communicate with them, then the better they are able to communicate. And so it's better to set up a community of folks who can understand the person than it is just to have a sole source. And so the more you know, the better it is. The more you care, the better it will be. And so just to involve yourself in whatever way you can, that would be a benefit to that family.
Well, let me take a stab at it. Is yellow McDonald's?
That's it.
Yellow's McDonald's. I got one word of Japanese.
Yes, he'll tag colors to anything and to people. You know, there could be Yellow Steve and Red Dave and Green Deanna, Purple Gordy. It could be all kind of stuff. And one thing I found with him, here's something I realized after all the years, because for years I fought to bring them into our world. I mean, everything I could to get them into the world. And of course, therapy's good to get them to function a little better. But after all the years with my sons, it finally hit me. I put myself in their world. Me not being able to understand a trip to Rouse's and Jack Ryan wanting to pet the wet vegetables, which is terrible during COVID, by the way. I mean, the other customers are, but well, I pet the vegetables with him. He likes the moisture, and y'all know that from a tactical standpoint. But my thing is, one thing I did, when I'm with him, it's his world. And really kind of the world we kind of living in, it ain't so bad a place. It don't make it easier, but that's been the big thing deal with me. Is there some inappropriate stuff you can't let these boys or young ladies do? But I have found they're happiest and not as irritated and frustrated. It's a form of understanding them, you know, something we can't understand. So that's just been a technique I used. And I'll wear the same clothes they wear, the same socks they wear. I eat the same food they wear, which is probably why I'm 58 going on 97. But jumping into their world has worked for me.
Well, if you would, expound on jumping in their world. What's an example of something Jack Ryan's world?
Well, like our days are odd. I mean, he's a big iPad guy playing on the iPad. And Stephen can attest to this. About 18 months ago, we got in a really bad way with aggression. I mean, I moved the rest of the family out of the house. I've only watched one thing on TV in the last 3 years. It was the national championship LSU game, actually, because we can't put TVs in the house. So for him during that time, it was what he wanted to do. Jack likes to take rides. Right down the street right here during that bad time, for his mama to be able to go home and his brother to be able to go home, him and I would hit the road and ride for anywhere from 6 to 10 hours at night. He liked riding. So one of our stops was Jackson Park, which has a splash pad. Now, it's a little unnerving at 1 a.m., a 20-year-old naked man in the splash pad with me sitting on a bench. I don't know how the heck I didn't get booked or something happened. But it's just where he wants to go and what he wants to do. I suffer a little bit from some PTSD because of what we've been through. I get nervous in grocery stores. We'll go in a grocery store for a trip. I say Rouse, it's a trip there, maybe an hour and a half, and we're not buying anything. We're just, he may stare at the jelly beans for 45 minutes of it. But my thing is, me missing out on watching a ball game or going out with my friends to get a bite to eat and all that type stuff, that's an easy sacrifice to just be with him and do what he wants. Chase, who works with Stephen, is a little higher functioning. He's a little bit easier, you know, but quirky nonetheless. You know, he wanted me to buy him. He's great on the computer, way better than me. I probably should have had him set this up for me, but he wanted 3 Peter Pan movies, for example. So I ordered them on Amazon. They came in, and he got angry because one was wrong. And the only difference was it's the same movie with the same picture, but one little dot on the box from a different year. I mean, he looked at it, and I couldn't find it, and he pointed it out. So they are so, the things they notice and the things they do, and it's really amazing. Maybe you say bizarre. But so for me, my deal getting in his world is I know when I get home, I'm not going to do what Sid would really like to do. I'm doing what Jack Ryan or Chase likes to do. And here's the caveat. The two of them cannot be in the same room. Any parents of children ever know that you know, a 30 and 20-year-old, I try to keep them on separate sides of the house because the 20-year-old is the troublemaker. He's the one that causes Chase problems. So wife will take the older one, I'll take the younger one. And by the way, you know, they're children to me. Santa Claus will always come to my house. You know, he will. That'll always happen, the Easter Bunny and everything else. But my son, who likes to pet the vegetables, happens to be 6 foot, 260 pounds, and old Sid here weighs 195. He just ain't figured it out yet.
Well, it's possible they're at each other just because they're brothers. So that may be the whole thing.
That could be it. But here's the beauty. Okay, you want a blessing? Let me give you a blessing, Gordy. They both love pizza. Okay, so if I order a pizza, say from Domino's, okay, well, Jack only likes to eat the pepperonis on the pizza, and Chase only likes the cheese and crust. Can you imagine the money I've saved? So
Absolutely.
one pizza, one guy's got the pepperoni, but don't give Chase a pizza. Don't open it up out the box if it's just cheese. He won't eat it. It's got to be pepperoni on it. Then I pick. So I got a billion stories, but that's one of them.
Debbie Doherty, a local watcher with us, with a grandchild on the spectrum, I believe, says, Coach Sid, their world is amazing on many levels.
Oh, it truly is. She is 100% right. I mean, it enchanted. You know, here again the innocence of it. Now, sometimes they don't feel innocent if they're angry, you know, and they're rolling around. But it's an amazing experience, and here again, it's a beautiful place. You know, what I can't wait to see is when God does call us all at some point. That's the biggest curious mystery I have in my life. That when we get there, how are they going to be? You know, that's a question I have. I mean, that's the great physician, right? But when we get there, I mean, will I be able to have that conversation with my sons that I really want to have? We communicate, and we're as one. But I want to ask him some things. You know, I want to ask him his favorite color, or I ask him, hey, where do you want to go today? Now, Stephen will tell you, Chase can tell me, but Jack Ryan, he just points. You know, and it's for us to kind of figure out. And if he points and I got it wrong, well, that's usually not a good trip. But those are some things. They are beautiful, beautiful children, and you know they're smart. Am I right, Miss Deanna? I mean, these are smart kids. My son is an artist. I mean, he you know, Chase, the oldest one. Jack's more musical. So Miss Deborah is absolutely right. Beautiful, beautiful people.
It's unlocking that and understanding. Every child is different and unique, and they have a special gift. And what is that gift? And we see it early on in so many children. It could, like you said, be the art. It could be music. I speak with families all the time, and children that most of our children, about 55% of our children are nonverbal, but I tell people all the time, they don't, communication isn't always about verbalizing things. They can communicate in so many other ways, whether it's through a computer or whether it's through art, or just being there with them, that smile. We find some of the children, they have very unique, we like to think of as a uniqueness with each child. And like you said, one of your sons, the gift of art. We have children that's not only art, it's musical. So we try to put all of these things within our program to find out, you know, how can we bring out the best in that child? You know, how can we help them become more social, help them, you know, those children that are show signs of aggression at an early age, how can we tailor that into some other form? And like I said before, it takes the family. It takes everyone in the community to help families. And you can be successful. And it's just getting into their world. And so I applaud you, Sid. I mean, it seems like you've done great with your children.
Well, we've tried, that's for sure. And like I said, I could name a bunch of people who have helped or checked on us. And, you know, he's had some wonderful teachers at Central High School in age. You know, right now his main lady is a lady named Ainsley Smith, who, you know, gets him. And, you know, some people get those kids, you know, and people mean well. They don't want to not get them. But some just truly do. But one thing with autistic kids where there's a communication barrier, and Miss Deanna and Stephen, you could vouch for this. They feel people. They have emotions. They can feel anger. They can feel disappointment. They can feel if someone is bothered or scared of them. They feel sadness. You know. So you ever, the young teenagers now say, "Hey, I feel you. I feel you." Well, Jack and Chase feels you. They know. You don't have to say anything, but they know where your heart is and what you're about.
Stephen, I wanted to ask you, hearing these stories from Coach a little bit and from all of you, and tell me about the evaluation period when someone comes to work for you, and each child is obviously unique. And so how are you able to match maybe a skill set with a job description and find something that is going to be fulfilling for both of y'all?
Yeah, so that runs the gamut. The benefit of what we have is we have usually a lifetime worth of people that have taken notes and tried to figure things out, and so we're handed a booklet of evaluations, and we've got parents that are telling us what's going on, and by then most of the folks that we work with are able to express themselves in some way as to what they want and what they don't want. So even Sid mentioned Chase. Even Chase doesn't speak a lot. You can feel Chase. When Chase is happy and when Chase is not happy. And so what we're able to do then, Gordy, is figure out what their strengths are, and then we look around to figure out what type of environment they would most like to be in. That usually is sort of the kicker in terms of employment, because I tell the story all the time. My son said he wanted to work around animals, and so we brought him to one of these pet places that boarded pets, and he wanted to work there, and he was fine in the lobby. Everybody was cool. There was one dog in there, but we opened the door to the kennel area and everybody started barking, and we were out of there in about 2.2 seconds. It was, it was a really quick exit. So that environment, although he liked the idea of working with the animals, the environment wasn't going to work. So it's just a matter of figuring out what environment it would be, what sort of skills they would have, and then working with the employer to see what would be the best fit. And I would say we've been having some discussions about some fairly impacted folks, but there's some other folks that aren't quite so impacted that really just need some social polishing and or some application or interview skills. We had a young man who graduated from LSU, wanted to be a GIS mapper. I had to go look that up. I didn't know what it was, but he wanted to do it, but he was having difficulty finding a job, and we just had to make the connection for him, and he's been there for, I think, over 2 years now. So it's just a matter of sometimes taking the time, what the best fit is, finding an employer who has the heart for it, finding a champion within that employer that's going to be able to communicate with the folks, and then once they're settled, they're settled. They're going to be there for as long as you'll have them.
Deanna, I wanted to ask you a little bit. COVID obviously had a tremendous impact on so many not-for-profits, and I know that we partnered for a number of years with Emerge. My friend Chip Robinson, Battle Against Autism, is one of the big raisers, and I know you've been hustling to get back on track. What are some of the events going on, or how can people support the Emerge Center?
We have our gala coming up in September. We also have several. If you go to our website, you can give through your payroll check. You can give just through so many other methods. We have butterflies we sell. We do a lot of craft things with the children. We also we have, like you said, our BAA, our volunteer activist event that's coming up in November. So we have something continuously every month. We just had a very successful campaign in that we raised money, and it was just a virtual event. Everything has been virtual lately, Gordy. So we're hoping with the event that you'll be at with the Robinsons that we can have a full house then, and that our gala will be and get things back to moving and do, because it's not the same as like what we're doing now to raise funds. People have been very generous, and we're so appreciative. But we like being in the room with folks to tell them our story, show them what we're doing, our success. And I think that with all of us, that's what's so important, so that people can, grab us and get a better understanding of what it means to have a child with autism. And so we look forward to those gatherings again. But if you go to our website, you'll see a whole list of events that we'll be having this fall.
Well, I have a question. First of all, Deanna, is Emerge is a Baton Rouge organization, Baton Rouge based, not in Central, but you have Central kids going there,
Oh,
and
yes.
it is one of the. It's like you said, it's a premier and kind of a one of a kind in this area. So everyone watching this in Central, if you've got a child on the spectrum, it's a great place, a great resource, and someplace you should consider taking your kids.
Oh, yes, we do have children. And like I said, if you reach out to us, we'll be more than happy to show you the facility, give you some examples of the type of therapy services we have. And so, like I said, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you in any way that we can.
Question from Melissa Smith. Do you all have the Amazon Smile connection? I think that's some deal where you can contribute.
Yeah.
Okay. So Emerge does. Do you all, Steve?
It's under the Emerge Center, so yeah.
We did when we were on our own. We do raise funds primarily for our residential facility, but we haven't done the Smile. It's a larger corporation, becomes a little bit more cumbersome, so we haven't done that. But we do raise funds through our American Foundation for both our one-on-one services, which are private pay, and the residential facility that we should be opening soon.
Debbie Doherty also comments that Breck at Jackson Park has designed, and she actually worked with them on part of this. They have a new building, and it's going to have a sensory room for decompressing and a playground area for special needs children once the renovation is complete right here at Jackson Park, where Jack Ryan likes to play in the splash pad.
That is beautiful for our city. It really is. And I know Miss Debbie had, something to do with that, because she is one of the greatest advocates and has helped my family and I many times on these ventures.
And I can tell you in the Baton Rouge area, we're currently at Emerge working with Breck at Independence Park. They'll be having a sensory area for children in the Baton Rouge and surrounding areas. So that they hope to have that completed by the fall. In fact, we have our first stakeholders meeting next week. So that's exciting. So something in Central and something in the Baton Rouge area for children. It's going to be awesome.
I may beat out Gordy as the one who knows the least about autism in this little chat here. Tell me, if you can, in a reasonable amount of time, what do you look for in a small child to indicate they may be on the spectrum?
Are you speaking to me?
Well, yeah. What would be my clue?
Oh, I thought you said Gordy. I'm so sorry.
No, I said Gordy and I are the people there.
Actually, we with my oldest, when he was in like a Mother's Day Out program at I guess Jefferson Baptist Church, when it was on the other side of town. We sent him for testing, and so we went through the process over at the Emerge. But I'll let you fill in.
Yeah. What are the signs? What do we look for as parents?
Child, for instance, you can start as early as 6 months when the child is sitting up in a carrier, and typically a child follows, their eyes follow you, correct? Or you pick them up and they snuggle you. Children with autism, they don't always, the eye contact, the following you. It's like I talk about the social distance of where the socialization piece is not there. The mom wanting the baby to snuggle and cuddle, they don't. A lot of them, they flaccid. They keep their arms and legs out. Nonverbal. Like I said before, several children, over 50% of children with autism are totally nonverbal. SIDS children do speak some. So that is a blessing, even though you understand it, your family understands it. But think of the parent who's never heard their child's voice before. Being able to go through some sort of therapy and get some words out of that child. That's just awesome. I was sharing earlier with you guys, we had a child who had never spoken a word, 6 years old, had been with us since August in our school. And 2 weeks before school let out, he sang a song, and we were all just shocked and praised. We just, tears of joy is what we say all the time. When we cry at our work, it's truly tears of joy, because these miracles happen. And so you look at a child, like I said, it could be socially, verbally, communication. When you see those deficits in your child, it's best to bring them in for testing. A neurologist, pediatrician can give you a referral. We test children at Emerge and come up with a treatment plan that best suits that child. It's not a cookie cutter or a mold you can place the child in. Children are on it, like we said, on a spectrum. So you have higher functioning children and some that aren't as high functioning. But there is a treatment plan for every child.
Well, let's jump into Central in our own backyard. Of course, Steve, tell everything you do is Central based. Tell us about your residential facility. I think you're opening soon after post-COVID.
Yeah, we actually had the house owned by Stanley Cheatham and his family on Denham Road. We had our first sleepover for the residents the week before COVID hit. And so we decided to push the pause button. But the idea is that there will be 8 residents that live in the house with we call a house manager. They'll each have an individual plan, transition plan that will identify the skills that they need to learn to be as independent as they possibly can. And so over a course of a year, 18 months, they'll live on site. They'll receive the lessons that they need while they're going to school or working or whatever they're going to do so that they can become independent adults. And so the plan will be that we will have some of them working in the shop, which is located on that site as well, but also them going to school if they need to and provide those supports. So we're excited about it. We're actually, I mentioned earlier, the company that I'm working for is a large company. We're looking at doing something like this in another state as well. It's just a way, hopefully, that will enable folks to be more independent than they would have otherwise, to learn the skills that even if they have to have a roommate in the future, at least they can handle themselves with a roommate kind of hanging around. So we're excited about it. It's going to be a great opportunity for our guys to really stretch their wings and see how far they can go.
So it's not a long-term residential facility. It's a 12 to 18 month experience preparing them for their independence, correct?
That's correct. One of the emphasis that exists in our special needs world is a need to integrate special needs populations in the community. So in order to do that, you have to have services that are available that teaches them to have skills to become independent in the community. The old system of we'll build a facility and house all our special needs individuals, those days are gone. And so what we're trying to do now is to figure out ways that we can develop skills so that we can have folks that are living in neighborhoods or in apartment complexes or wherever that are more independent and more integrated into the community. So this is sort of the valve between home and independence, where you can learn, make mistakes and be safe, but also that you're not going to stay there. You're going to move on to bigger and better things as we move forward.
So if I'm a business owner or manager and suspect that I might have a job that would be a good candidate for one of your graduates, let's say, is that something that you work to pair businesses with?
Absolutely. One of the things that we haven't spoken a lot about right now is that we perform what's called pre-employment transition services in Central High School. And so we go to their special needs classes and we perform training for independent living, primarily vocational training. And so what we do partly is in the classroom, but the rest of it is done in the community. And so we need community partners that will be willing to take individuals for job shadowing opportunities, just visits, if we have classes that want to come visit and see what your operation's all about, but also to have placements so that if there's somebody that wants to work in the area that you are in, then we can have a relationship with you to make sure that it's the right fit for the consumer, our client, but more importantly, you as an employer are comfortable with the placement, and that you know what to do in the event that there's something that comes up and somebody to ask if there's a question about how to deal with certain situations. So we know, we've heard too many stories where there is a special needs individual. Uncle Joe has a car shop, so we just go stick him at Uncle Joe's, and then the young person doesn't like it, and there's a behavioral outburst. Uncle Joe never will have a special needs person again. That kid will never work again. And so you're in a lose-lose-lose situation. So what we try to do is to, buff as many of those corners as we possibly can, make sure that the fit is the right fit so that when the placement comes, that there's a long-term lasting relationship that goes on.
And I just want to say, as Steve stated about a child having a breakdown, or, folks don't always understand that. So what we try to do at an early age, to us, it's the child's trying to communicate, but we try to tailor that into a way that have the child express themselves differently, working on the aggressive behaviors that some children tend to have, and helping the families learn how to cope with that. So when they are in public, or the child is experiencing a difficult time, they know how to intervene and what to do. And it's taken years, and Steve, and at different levels, I know that working as a parent, it can be challenging at times, and especially placing these children.
Yeah, one of the things that we learned, which was, it seems like you should know it, but you don't, but behavior is a communication, right? So if someone is behaving in a way, and all of us are doing it right now, so we're all paying attention to each other, mostly, and we're, communicating back and forth, and we're nodding our head when we agree. All those things that we're doing non-verbally, those are all indicating behaviors, indicating what we mean to other people. So if we have some sort of communication disorder, we still want to communicate, and we don't know how to do that necessarily appropriately, our behavior is still communicating. And so when we're having some sort of thing that looks, out of the ordinary, then we are still trying to communicate something, and we need to be taught, hey, how do we do that in a more fruitful way? But also the people to whom I'm communicating need to understand what I'm trying to say. And so a perfect example will be in our shop, that sometimes people get frustrated when they're working. They don't know how to say, look, I'm frustrated because the press is too hard to push or whatever. So they'll have either a popsicle stick or some other thing that they can hand to our supervisor to say, this, I need a break, and they can take a break. And once they hand that popsicle stick or whatever it is to the supervisor needs to go, whoa, okay, we need to communicate. We need to figure out what's going on so that we can get back on track. And that happens, with some folks frequently, with other folks rarely. But unless you have that relief valve, then that's when the behaviors can escalate, because you don't have that method to communicate. So it's different with everybody. Sometimes it's a quick trigger, sometimes it's a long fuse. But regardless, the better you know the method of communication, the better your success is going to be with those individuals.
So the failure to communicate is really on us. I try to work this in once every show, but I have a grandson. He's 11 months old, and we spend a lot of time trying to get into his world, trying to figure out what he needs or what he wants. And somewhere we quit doing that with people. We stop looking at people and seeing what they need. And these children on the spectrum, they just need us to stop, as Sid says, and get in their world, correct?
Right. Just because you're not 2 years old anymore doesn't mean you can't get into their world. I mean, it's a lifetime commitment, and it's understanding, because like I said, there's more than one way to communicate. It's not always verbal, and it's finding the best way to communicate with that individual.
Yeah, I would agree with that 1,000%. And I say this quite a bit. We're all made in the image and likeness of God. And if I can't see that in you, then that's my problem. That's not your problem, right? And so it's our job to express that to other people and to find out what's going on. Now, in people's defense, we don't necessarily inherently intuit what's going on with somebody else, right? So if I walk up to somebody on the street and I slap you on the face and there's no provocation for it, you're going to think, we're getting ready to throw down. There's a fight going on, right? But there may be something else going on. So what we have to do is we have to pause, honor their inherent dignity, figure out what's going on before we react. And just because it's an atypical reaction, it's not something that we're used to seeing, doesn't mean that we should jump to the worst possible conclusion, right? We should try to get to the point where we're trying to understand what's going on. Now, sometimes it means you're going to fight, but that's not always the case. Most of the time, it means that there is a failure of communication between the two people. Even if they're not on the spectrum, but especially if they are on the spectrum, because one of the things that we have to do is understand what are they trying to communicate, and just by way of reference for families, I know Chase, I know that the Edwards have stickers on their car that say, I have an adult with autism in the car. They may not be able to communicate with you. If you've got a family member that's dealing with this, one of the ways to prepare them for the world is to prepare the world for them, and having a card on them that says, I'm on the spectrum, I may not be able to communicate, or I may act differently. There are different ways that you can do that, so that you can give, sort of notice to the people around you that this circumstance might not be an ordinary circumstance. And just not to go on, but one of the issues that we've had, and I know Debbie Doherty was on earlier, one of the issues that we've had is with police forces, right? We need to make sure that when the police respond to a scene with someone who's on the spectrum, that they're not necessarily expecting someone to cooperate, because our folks don't always cooperate so great. And we don't want there to be an escalation because they don't respond to the situation. And so what we try to do, for example, the residents, we've let the police department know the residents will be there. And when we get residents in there, they'll be introduced to the police, so that when there's an interaction, it's coming from a place of knowledge and not some sort of knee-jerk reaction to a situation, because they're not going to be called unless there's a problem.
Well, you say the image and likeness of God. Sid, I had this image when you were talking about the afterlife, and I'm thinking you're going to get up there finding Jack and God talking Japanese, and you're going to be the one out in the cold.
Hey, that would be great. Oh, man.
Well, look, a little prop for you.
Oh,
There you go.
This is
Yeah,
that's correct.
that is Sam's shirt. And if you'll read the bottom of it, Dave, I don't remember exactly what the words are, but it says, just when you thought it was safe to go back, or something like that. So
It says, finally, it's safe to get back in the water.
there you
Nice.
go. That's
Wow.
what it is. So that was Sam's homage to the goodbye to 2020, and hopefully we won't have some of the same issues we had back then. But it's the next shirt that we had in the series was completely different, but it expressed a real deep. It said "choose your own path," and it was just a real great artistic version of some different pathways that you can choose. And so their expression really is so amazing. And if we slow down long enough to listen to them, they have a lot to say.
Do you have like a shirt of the month club you can sign up for, and you get a shirt?
We do,
every
yeah.
month?
Actually, yeah, we just launched. That was the first series of that. So it's called You in Ink. It's I didn't come up with it. It's supposed to be a play off of unique, but it's You in Ink. And so it's a shirt every month. The consumer, we choose a consumer that designs a shirt, and we then send that shirt to the consumers who purchase the shirt, so the subscribers. I think we're on our third month of doing that, and it's a $20 a month thing. And so we'll continue to make them for as long as people will buy them. But the cool thing about it really is when the individuals are working in the shop, sometimes they're limited in what they do. They may only print, they may only fold or whatever, but this gives them an opportunity to see the design process, to really be creative, then to have their work go from an idea all the way through fruition to a real product. And the self-satisfaction and the confidence that goes along with that, it goes a long way. So we are really excited about it. And if you go to gatewayinc.org, you can sign up today.
Well, Sid, we haven't touched on your experience with Chase as an employee.
Oh, it's been a lifesaver for him. It gives him purpose. Now, in the beginning, it was a little tenuous. Where are you going? I gave the wrong answer. Like he wants to know, where am I going? To work. Well, he didn't want to go to work. But now, and they're creatures of habit. That's why when he got furloughed, with Mary Key out off of Jefferson Highway out that way, he was lost. Stephen and him have been so great to him. It's a part of his day. And he enjoys it. And really what's happened, the Emerge Center, what Ms. Deanna and them have done, we really didn't have that for Chase. I mean, that was 30 years ago. We had stuff for them to do, but not at the level. My boys are probably 20 years behind where we're at now. And a big thing where there's a big void is in what Stephen's doing, and it's for the young adults that are in that age group. Our country, not just Baton Rouge or Central, our entire nation is not equipped for these autistic kids that are going into young adulthood. And so we get whatever we can, okay? But for Chase, that little deal he does is huge for him. Uh, but that's the hope, is that if you take the Emerge Center, and Gordia brought up his son, they tested him at one point, and I know we're about to get off the air here, but do know that you can get in touch with me. I work at Central High. Any parents out there that are concerned, and I can't tell you how many. I'm not a doctor, nor did I stay at a Motel 6, but I can't diagnose. But I can tell you that parents get nervous if a kid isn't talking on time, or if something's not right, or they're a little quirky. And for the parents out there, 9 times out of 10, it's nothing. It might be developmentally delayed, right? It might be they're just a little bit behind, Um, they get to school age. Maybe they need to be put back a little bit. Most of the time, it's not. But know that the Edwards family is here for our community, that if you have any questions, either you have a diagnosis or you're not sure, my wife and I, along with these fine people here, will be glad to take your call and sit with you and talk to you, because I can't tell you how many I've came across and, nah, he's just acting bad right now. I don't think he has autism. But Steve, I'll tell you how long, that when they use the term spectrum, oh my goodness. There's autistic people out there, Dave, that are neurosurgeons. I mean, so it's just so much. And these guys are the professionals, not me. I live it. Steve does both.
Well, speaking of professionals, Beanie's more or less a professional in addition to being a mom.
She is. She changed her. She was a math teacher by trade all these years, and going through it, she ended up getting certified as a special education teacher, as has my daughter, Delaney. And here again, living it, yeah, it's a different view, a little bit more understanding of knowing. But yeah, it's a family affair at this point.
Now, look, I will say this as well, and a couple of things. First of all, we were in the same group when we had Sam had some behavior issues. We had to go to California to get a BCBA, which is what Emerge does with the ABA therapy. We literally had to call someone in California to do the ABA therapy that we needed. Now the BCBAs are here and they're at Emerge, and Meraki has an autism center. The services are out there and available. I will tell you though, the difference in Baton Rouge as to other places in the country, because I get to see those with my work, is the sense of community. The fact that there is a program like that's reaching out to folks to bring people together, and that there's churches that are providing respite, and that there's individuals that are, leading the charge to get folks, the help that they need. That's not a usual thing across the country. That's pretty unusual for folks to band together as a community, and Central does that extraordinarily well. And so one of the blessings that we have just being in our community is the opportunity to help each other, to reach out to folks that are in need. Don't hesitate to do that. If you're someone that's experiencing difficulties, in your family because of autism, there's help out there now. You don't have to do it on your own. You can go find some way to find some relief, whether it be professional or religious or however it is. But the longer that you wait, the worse the story becomes. And so it's really best just to go ahead and take advantage of the things that are out there, and reach out to folks that can help you, because there's plenty of folks, especially in Louisiana, that really do want to help.
Debbie Doherty wants to help. Debbie actually posted, she said, look, her cell phone number is 571-4252. She's the grandparent of a young lady who's been to Emerge and is very well immersed in the autism world, and would love to help if you need help. If you know Debbie Doherty, there's another resource for you. And someone asked, are you holding an autism awareness walk this year?
That's the Families Helping Families did that, and that was in April that they were supposed to do it. They had a virtual walk. They should be back in person next year.
Okay.
But April is Autism Awareness Month, and that's usually when the larger events occur. And I'll add on to what Deanna said earlier, because it really is crucial. the skills that they learn early in life are the ones that stick with them. And all of the science says that the earlier they get help, the better. So if you're not sure and you're dealing with a son, daughter, grandchild that is, if you're just curious about what's going on, go ahead, reach out to your pediatrician, start the process. And just to be honest with you, there is a lack of physicians that specialize in this field, so it may take a while for you to get evaluated anyway. So start the process, get it done as early as you possibly can, give them those skills that they need to adapt to our world so that we can start to understand their language and help them out as much as we can. And by the time they get to my age, all I will be doing is, polishing the shine on them and moving them on, and not worrying about some of the bigger issues that the ABA centers can handle early.
Right. And a behavioral psychologist can diagnose. It doesn't have to be just a pediatrician. So come to us or other centers like ours that do offer that type of therapist, and they can perform evaluation and set up that treatment plan, because at age 2 is ideal to start that early intervention process. And so if you have any questions, anyone, please just reach out to us, because we'll be more than happy to help.
What's your website address or phone number or something for Emerge?
Just Google Emerge and we're going to pop up. But it is www.emerge.org, and we'll have all of our information will come up. ABA, speech, OT, all of our fundraising, even our school. So, and we do have a foundation. So we have a center, which is a large clinic. We have a school, and we have a foundation.
But if I'm a parent and don't have resources, can I access either of your groups?
Yes, you can. We do a lot of our work. We do is private insurance, Medicaid, and we do have a lot of philanthropy that comes in. We don't like to turn folks away. We have
Kind of lost Deanna there.
resources available to help.
I think it's fair to say that Deanna, their organization Emerge can meet your needs. Resources won't matter.
Yeah, we have the services that we provide, especially the high school services, are paid by the Louisiana Rehabilitative Services. So if they qualify for an IDEA or 504 disability designation, then they can get our services. We also have some one-on-one services that and the residential facilities for which we raise funds. So if you go to gatewayinc.org, you can see some of that. But also, if you just want to reach out to me, it's Stephen with a PH Whitlow at Meraki.org. I'll be happy to give you any other information you may need.
Last thoughts, Gordy?
Excuse me, I was unmuted. It's Coach. God bless. Nothing but respect. I just know in your profession, and I can't imagine during football season you have a practice, you watch film, and you go home and stop everything, and all the thoughts that a coach goes through. Text from you got players getting texting you, parents are texting you, coaches are texting you, and you've got to stop everything and get out of your world and get into Jack Ryan's world. Nothing but love there.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate all of you, because I go back to my childhood and think about being in 4th and 5th and 3rd grade, and we were throwing human beings away back then. I remember the boys and girls who didn't fit in, couldn't socialize, and they stuck them in a desk in the back of the room, and eventually they just became the cast-offs. And now we're recognizing the value of these human beings, and like Steve said, created in the image of God. And we're learning to communicate. You guys are providing an amazing source or resource for families to love their children. I think it's just amazing.
Coach, last question for you. What are the top 3 things on Jack Ryan's iPad? What does he like on his iPad?
Absolutely any YouTube. And what'll happen, it's music, so anything on YouTube, and don't play a ton of games. But the deal, let's give you an example. The hit of the month is Heffalumps and Woozles, okay, from the Pooh series. So to tell you how that works on the Heffalumps and Woozles, when I get home, I will hear it 2.8 million times, back to back to back to back. And but he's had that, and then there's this group called Storybots. Okay, and y'all, you still got young ones, but the Storybots will talk about everything from vegetables to dinosaurs. And here's the deal: when he finds a song, it is indeed 12 straight hours of repeat, 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 repeat. We take the iPad in the truck with us, so it's mainly a musical thing. But every now and then he'll find a little matching game. It's almost like a puzzle. Like it might be the word cat, and you move up the letter CAT. But for old Jack, it's the song of the week.
How many miles has Jack ridden?
Oh, during that 18-month, well, I say 18-month, it was really about an 8 or 9-month stretch. No one in the state rode more. Even truck drivers. There's no way. But we got to the point now where we call it a cruise, and we'll hit the road. Probably average about an hour and a half a trip now. But there were those 1 a.m. jaunts to Jackson Park. I was right. You lived right there. You missed all that.
Well, I didn't miss it. I just hid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, but that's his deal on the iPad, and it's amazing what he can find on that thing. He pulls up stuff, and, I had to put a few blocks on it, actually, because he'll pull up, I don't want to trace back to me,
No, of course not.
But he, and Chase, the same deal. They can find anything in the world on that thing.
I appreciate all you being here tonight, just celebrating all the great things in Central, resources that Central has, Deanna, and Emerge, and you two gentlemen, just the epitome of what it is to be parents and care about these kids. And Steve Whitlow, you're an attorney, or you're not?
Yeah, I am not practicing. I'm actually sitting. My wife is an attorney as well. I'm sitting in her law office on Magnolia Beach Road. So I do a little bit with her, but practiced for 20 some odd years. But I'm now full time devoted to the transition business.
I think it's amazing you were called out of a profession that everyone looks at as one of the top things. I want to be an attorney when I grow up, and you left that to be with the kids first at Starkey, and then to invest yourself in the autism world. I just think that's an amazing calling. We appreciate you.
I appreciate it. I probably see less tantrums now than I did when I was practicing law, but everybody's life journey is different. I'm so pleased at ours, and just grateful that we're able to do what we do.
Well, thanks for being here. This has been Go ahead, Deanna.
No, thank you. We just really appreciate you allowing us to share our stories.
Now, this is recorded on Facebook and YouTube. Go Central, GEAUX Central.com on the website. Have it on the website by tomorrow, but on Facebook and YouTube Live, it's all recorded. If you have anybody would like to know some more about autism, just refer them to this live stream, and we'll be back next Monday night at 8 o'clock. Thank you for being here.
Right.
Thank you all.
guys.
Appreciate y'all.